not bad. Okay, there we go. Okay, so like I said, I am going to record, and that's just so if there's anything afterwards, I'm going to post it on the site. And if you have been on Moodle already, you'll see there's a class already set up, and you're already set up in the class. Feel free to interrupt me and ask questions. I know that I talk fast sometimes. I'm never upset if you stop me. Okay. The whole reason and the only reason I do slideshows is not necessarily because I want to talk from a slide. It's because I am ADHD and I will get off task on my own, and I need something to drive me back to where I started from. So don't feel bad about that anytime. Feel free to get up, get snacks. There's drinks and there's snacks over there, and there will be a 10-minute restroom break in the middle. That's the whole reason I have a time up here, so they keep track of the time. So that you're just all of a sudden go, and we're doing that, and everybody's like bent over. So if you really need to go out and go to the bathroom before then, that's fine too if you really need to go. But I am gonna definitely have a break inside. Okay, the goals today are to understand some of the NSQ instructional design standards. It's a national NSQ.org is a national organization that sets up and works with actually 3 or 4 different organizations to come up with standards for online courseware and the things that are best for learning for students. So we're going to look at some of those, not all of them, but some of those design standards. We're going to look at and try to apply those design standards for our own classrooms today. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to explore the Moodle resources to a limited extent, because I think everybody here has used most of the Moodle resources. So we're going to talk a little bit about them. We're going to talk a little bit about accessibility and UDL practices. There's going to be a little bit of hands-on practice on graphics and AI tools to make alt tests. And for case in point, a lot of the things that SQ talks about, Moodle already has. We don't have to worry about cutting our fonts down to 2 or 3 fonts. Moodle only lets you use 5, and I could cut it. I can literally cut it down from there if we wanted to. I left the 5 core ones there, but I could break it down even more than that. But a lot of the things like navigation, a lot of online courses have no navigation. The navigation is automatic and it's already set up for us. So a lot of things you're going to see already exist. So NSQ is an online collaboration of a bunch of different companies that came together to make online standards. You don't need to read that whole thing. It's basically talking about what they are. If you want to read all the standards, it's nsqol.org. And by the way, I'm going to send a link to everybody of this presentation if you wanted to look at any of the links later. But we're going to look at the big ones. The standard C is instructional design, and there are 9 standards of instructional design. A lot of those we already hit as teachers. We talk about many of these things, and I'm really just going to go down to a couple of these standards, really. But in general, they focus on consistency and accessibility. Consistency being a big thing that we don't necessarily hit very well, in my opinion, here at National Trail. And in fact, that's why the first assignment for the course is what it is. We'll get into that later, but it's about being consistent, not just across the school, which is very hard to do because we all have our own courses, but to be consistent in our own course across the different sections. We already have clear navigation and structure. The navigation is built in the middle, and there's no way to get it out of it. But is it always set up to be the right way? And we're going to look at some different options on that as well. It talks about having readable text and visuals that pop out. A lot of times we have a tendency to pick the default text, and sometimes we might want to go bigger than we are. We wanted to make sure that we've got accessible materials for all of our learners, and all these things help promote both equality, engagement, and the ability for our students to retain that data. So the first one that I wanted to look at is the course organized by unit and lessons in a logical sequence. Some of you may be like, well, of course it's in a logical sequence, but I'm going to show you a couple that are there are courses from our school that are completely out of sequence. And I kid could not explain to you why. Are the units in a logical sequence that you teach, whatever that sequence is? And in no case am I going to say you should do it this way. It's just things to think about so that you do it the way that's logical for your class. Because obviously your science class is different than your science class. Your social studies class and it's teachers. We got a plan here for science. The second one is the content appropriate for the reading level of the intended learners. AI has added something that we could not do 5 years ago, and that is to level text for our independent. It could have with hours and hours of work. And quite honestly, the work that I could not have done, because I don't know that I can read something and say, well, this is at a third grade reading level, because that's not one of my training is. However, AI does that for us now. So we have the ability to make different text available to our students at different levels in the same place, which we could not do easily before. So that's one of the things we're going to talk about as well. Number 6 was provide learners with multiple ways of learning. This is one that I'm going to talk a little bit about, but I can't show a ton of ways because it depends on the class. A math class would be very hard to give alternate ways to do a math problem. But that doesn't mean there's not alternate ways to practice something to get to. And that's one of the things that we're going to look at, how we can do that in Moodle. And this is really more the second course, more than the first course. We're going to touch on it a little bit here, but not go too deep into it. And by the way, is this distracting or not distracting? I don't know whether...
I like it, but please now I will look at it the whole time.
Oh, sure.
It's not just soft.
Well, I'm quiet section there, not just having that up there all the time. And every once in a while I'm looking at it going, oh, I'm going to say sometimes it's person, but and sometimes. Okay. The second set of standards that we're going to look at is not the C one, it's the E one. And these are more about accessibility for our students. And it's really an extension of the bullet I just talked about, which is trying to make it so all of our kids can access it. Because all of us have all levels of kids in our courses. And how can we make our online course and our online presence match what we're trying to do in person? And how can we do that? So there are some big ones that are really easy to hit on, like navigation, logical, consistent, and efficient from their point of view. And I've dealt with this with a couple of the new teachers. In fact, one of the older teachers, I won't say names on the video since I'm going to post it, but it just came to me this morning. It said, I'm helping a teacher with somebody else's course they took over, and holy crap, I can't figure anything out on their course. And if another teacher who teaches the same subject matter can look at your course and have no idea the path and what was going on, how can a student do the same thing? It's just not possible. I guess I'm not going to get to ignore that. I'm going to this super important. Okay. Yeah. Now let's go. Fine. And I'm playing. There's a different part of the SOD. That's right. Because they would hear you talking and teaching. It happens all the time. People would just sit on there going, hello, it's very interesting. You're like, excuse me, I'm like, clear. So anyway, the whole point of the accessibility and usability statement is that there are so many times that people think it's fine, but they never think to say, hey, then with my course, does it make sense to you? Because if it doesn't make sense to the teacher, it definitely is going to make sense to a student that's struggling with your content and then can't look at your class and have any idea where anything is. So that's part of what that's for. And what?
Now, I'm wondering what they actually end up looking like, because if you actually set yours up so it looks different, depending on the student, how you can get another teacher.
Well, we're going to talk about how we can do some things today. No, that's okay. So So the two are the ones that I thought broke out the most were these, and I just mentioned the logical, consistent, and efficient navigation. Does the course give accessible materials for all your learners? In other words, are we leveling and providing different ways for them to learn? And we know as teachers that we need to do this. The question is, are we trying to do it online so it's obvious to our students as well? And then multimedia that the students can use. If there's, our students consume multimedia more than anything else. If you have anyone who's under 25 years old, they're on TikTok, they're on multimedia stuff all the time. Are we providing any of that to our students? And it doesn't have to be a song and a dance, but some students will consume multimedia better than they're going to consume text. So we need to think about that. And it's as easy to use. And as far as I'm concerned, the only easy way to do it is to post it on YouTube and link it in your course because it's usable. Or find a YouTube that's usable, easy to do. So the first one is focusing on consistency and accessibility, clear navigation and structure, which Moodle can give us, readable text and visuals, which Moodle can do as long as we pick good fonts. Is it accessible? And if it does, it promotes equality, engagement, and retention for our students. So as far as visual consistency goes, are the fonts and styles uniform in our course? Moodle doesn't let you choose a lot. So that is relatively easy, but we do have choices. And if you copy and paste without choosing, you can actually get other fonts into Moodle when you copy and paste, and they could look really weird. In fact, I have some that I've copied and pasted. I'm like, why do all the S's have line? They all look strike through, and it's really hard to read. And sometimes you need to re-highlight it and choose your font in order to get the uniformity. Are the headings throughout my section consistent? I'm going to show you some options there. We want to try to avoid too much clutter. It's too dense. Moodle does that by default. In fact, Dan was even saying he thinks there's too much white space, that there's too much, but that's supposed to be easier for students to have that white space. And the last thing, and this is what we're going to start talking about right now, is to use a style guide and create your own template. And what I mean by that, this is my class. This is 3 different chapters. And as students go through chapter 5 to chapter 6 to chapter 7, the structure, the labels, and everything are exactly the same. They don't see all this at one time. They see this and then they see, and it breaks down as they are learning things. But I've got and I got this from a class that I took several years ago to come up with a style that I'm going to use and that I'm going to stick to for my whole course. So the first activity you guys are going to do, the first online activity, is going to be exactly that. You are going to come up with your own design layout for the course. You're going to make a design layout section, and that's the first assignment is to sit back and say, without a bunch of stuff on a section, what do I want my sections to all look like in the end? So I have one that I made that basically is just, this is one section of my course that's hidden that I made to be a template for all the other sections of my course. So I'm always going to have it say CH and a number with the chapter title. I'm always going to have some little image that represents that section. Okay. And it's just part of, I'm always going to have my ICANS next. And then I'm always going to have a self-assessment on my ICANS. And I'm always going to, and this is mine. By the way, I'm not saying this is anything that you should do because yours may be best 180 degrees out of what I'm showing you that I did. I'm just showing you what I'm talking about when I say a template. So I always have the chapter reading next together. I have a chapter book with chapter vocabulary with an activity on in every single section. And then I have a section that says chapter activities and there's more than one, but I would have all my chapter activities there. Every chapter has a project. So after the activities, and this is where in my class at every chapter, this is where the learning stops and the evaluation begins. Okay. All the teaching is up here. And this is where now you start to demonstrate and practice what you're learning. So then I have a chapter project and I end up with the chapter test. And that's what every single one of my sections is exactly like. And Moodle will let you build one of these and then just duplicate it. And then you can say, okay, now this is chapter 2, and you can move all your chapter 2 stuff into those sections. And now this is your new chapter 2. So I basically take this, and when I was doing it the first time, and I just say duplicate, and then I move that stuff in there so it's all arranged. And I put it where it goes, and I duplicate it again. I do the next chapter. And when I did this, and this goes for you guys too, I didn't do the course because who has time for that, right? You'd be here till midnight for all week. I do the next chapter as I'm going through it. So the idea is you'll come up with, the first thing is to come up with your own template. How can you organize your own stuff using labels? Basically, I'm old. They used to be called labels. This is now called a text and media area. To break out your items and organize your sections however you think is best for your students. But in general, we all do instruction and then exercise and evaluation in some order. But like, it's not like they see it all in this order either. When they see it, they see the instruction and they see the activities, and then they can be going through the activities while more stuff shows up. But that's the idea of the first project that you're going to do. And by the way, all the projects are due at midnight before the next course. There's no, you're going to get this done this week. Everything, the next hour is on October 21st. So everything has to be in by then because I'm supposed to go. Now, if it's done earlier, I'll have to grade it and be done with it, obviously. The next one, after you do the activity 1 on creating your layout, is to apply your layout to a section. So you'll first design a layout and submit it, and then you'll actually implement it on whatever section you want to work on in your class. And everything we're doing is not on a fake class. It's supposed to be in your class that you're teaching. And I know you're teaching multiple ones, so you have to do it on all of them. I don't know. So, and some of these things you may have already done, by the way. But maybe rethink about the organization we go. So, the considerations that we look at is that you should be thinking about is that somewhere in there I have ICANNs, but some kind of clear learning objectives. Every single one of our sections, the student should know what we're learning in that section. How you display that to the kids, whether you do it with a page up top or activity that they go to, they have to actually click on my ICANNs before nothing shows up until they've physically read the ICANNs. And that way I know they read the ICANN. Now, can they click on it, not read it, move on? Of course they can. There's always a Dan Studebaker in the room. But somewhere you should have some kind of objectives that we know from our PDs that we did on Word Just Left Me. 5 words, 5-letter acronym on what? I don't know. The one they did for like 7.5. But we could add more lessons, right? There's like always a goal up front. I couldn't think of it. That's also in your online. Just like we have a goal at the beginning of the lesson, there should be a goal at the beginning of your section. What are we trying to learn? What are we trying to teach? All of them should have the same structure, and that structure is based on what you want and how it works out for you. This is not my thing right here. That isn't even the order that I do mine. That's the one from an NSQ. They're like, oh, you should have an overview, objectives, content, activities, assessment. And then I think the resources belong up with my content because I want them to, that to me all goes together, but that's their whole thing. They talk a lot about having naming conventions, that everything in a section and everything in every section should follow some kind of a convention so it makes sense to them. Everything on mine is CH1 dot whatever. So it's chapter 1 and the activities are all numbered in order. So it's 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, 1.6. They know if it's a CH1 dot something that it's from chapter 1, and they don't have to guess what's next because they all have the number at the start of every single activity. And then I put the name of what the activity is. But they always know, what are we doing next? I don't know. What did we do last? We did 2.2 last. So what do you think we're doing? 2, 3? Yes. Yeah. That was a conversation today. I was like, what do you think comes after 2.2? Which still makes the catch, right? They're new. We're all in chapter 2, but my own students are like, haven't really caught that up. The only thing that I'm going to add here is middle grade book considerations, which Dan is going to help me work on later. But, wait, this is the navigation one. This is from an actual course. Teacher is not taking the time to name a single one of the sections. They still say topic 1 through topic 10. All the sections is one I grabbed yesterday. It's an active course, which is better than this one because they named them all. They teach them chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and every single one of these sections is viewable and not in order. How confusing is that to students? This is an active one that I just pulled yesterday on our site. That is not consistent and logical. Because as if your brain, first it literally goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Is that how they actually teach it?
Yes. They teach it chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, but this is the way their middle is set up right now. And then they put 5, 6, and 7, and then, I don't know. My point is, this is not consistent, logical, and this is not good navigation either. What are we on? What are they for? What does that mean to a student? I don't know. So that's a good example of not consistent and not logical. And the middle grade book consideration is this: the bigger it is, the more it stretches your grade book out. Hopefully we'll be able to find a way to truncate it a little bit, because this is my grade book and I couldn't figure out why I had this huge space underneath my project, because there's one all the way at the end of the course that the name is too long. It was pushing it down. It doesn't care whether it's active or not. If it's in your grade book, the current grade book stretches it. So I have to think about changing how long I'm willing to make my assignment names, and Dan's going to help me figure out how to truncate it at 3 lines. I'm sure there's a way to do it, because it's just some of it's stupid. But that's what I meant by middle grade book considerations. So navigation, name the sections clearly. They should make sense. Topic 1, topic 2, section 1, section 2, just not make sense. The course material should be ordered in the order that you teach it. I honestly, the ones that are in order, because I started dragging them into order, and then I was like, that's not my job to pick somebody else's spots, because none of them are in order. When I initially saw it, my OCD kicked in, and they're like, well, unless they teach it like chapter 1 to chapter 22, and then they go to chapter 3. They do not. 100% figured out.
Makes sense out of that, right?
I know. It's in where the group is. Okay. Use the text immediate area what used to be called labels inside a section to break up item and to make it clear and organize those items for the student. The more predictable it is, the less cognitive their load they have to have to just figure out, where am I going next? And I know from our own son, the more you throw this on him, the less he has left to do the activity that you're trying to get him to. If he spends 10 minutes trying to find it, you just wasted 10 minutes of his cognitive ability on it. So if you don't know the text and media area that used to be called labels, that's what it looks like. And this is how I use it. That's not necessarily the best way. I would recommend, I'm starting to make, after reading this, those aren't big enough. They don't stand out from the activity. I need to use a bigger font, because I have the exact same size font as all the activities. How are my headers showing up? They don't really pop to the students at all. So as I was going through stuff, I'm like, I need to make that bigger. Just want a font size bigger and make it stand out a little bit. So I did switch it to bold to try to do that. But even bold, when you're using the same size, I don't think did enough. That's one of the things I'm going to start doing to my own class to set up my stuff. And again, all these things are not necessarily visible at the same time, but as they become visible, it makes sense where the information is inside my class.
Where you can move things over,
Yeah.
like indentation. Can you move them over multiple times, or is it just?
I don't know how many times, but it's more than one move and less than 10.
Okay.
But I don't know. I don't think it's hard. It's real far. I know that's not very helpful. I might be only 2 times, but I'm not sure. I don't honestly in depth a lot. I usually use more of just using the label to break it out. As far as assessment goes, the reading and the says to standardize where assessments appear. They shouldn't be littered all over your class where they can't find it. It makes more sense to the student to have it say assessments, quizzes, tests, whatever word you want to use, and have them in order separate together. It says that if you do just a long laundry list of things like this that go down the page, and here's the quiz that we did, and then we just keep that, it's harder for the students to actually navigate to and find it. I know a lot of teachers think that, well, as long as it's the bottom thing, it makes sense to you. It may not necessarily make sense to them. It also talks about clearly stating how you're grading and what the assignment is in the online assignment. Just to put Chapter 2 project worth 100 points is not, as a student should be able to go and find out what the assignment is at any time. We know, or I know from my class, when I used to hand out a piece of paper to my students, 3/4 of those pieces of paper were on the table or littered on the floor when they left. And then later they go, I don't remember what the assignment was. Well, if it's all in your online course, the answer is, did you look at my class? So we should clearly state those, but not just what the assignment is, but how we're going to grade that assignment. We should have rubrics posted for major projects, writing assignments, things that are worth the equivalent of a test. We should at least let them know how we're going to grade those things so they're equivalent to a test. And it says to provide a predictable place for feedback. Moodle lets you give the feedback in the activity. I don't necessarily know that every student knows when I type feedback in something that it's there. I can care. And you always have.
And in 5th grade, and I have video on here to show them how to. What do they care to read?
I was going to say that providing feedback is not enough. At some point, you have to stand up in front of the class and actually show them, look, here's how you can see your feedback on that activity. Because I'll tell them, hey, if you improve it, I'll regrade it. All you have to do is resubmit it. I'll get an email that you resubmitted and I'll regrade the project. Well, how do we know what we did wrong? I'm like, you read the feedback. He's like, where's that? And you're like, you've been here for how many years? And I make the assumption that you're a junior in high school and you're the one who does it. You should be showing the freshmen, not me still showing you. So
my idea is even on there for 5th grade parents. If you're the oldest child in your family in 5th grade that year, a lot of those parents don't know.
Well, I would say all of them don't know because Moodle's new to every.
But I mean the parents.
No, I mean every kid in 5th grade. Moodle's completely 100% new. That because they don't ever get on Moodle. Their grades put on Moodle and that's it. They use Seesaw and
but they also don't use Brightside.
Yeah, no.
The first person to get all that.
Right. I agree that you kind of have to take a little more time, but it talks about, yes, it may be predictable, but if they don't get into it, we need to take the time to show them where that is. Clarity in instructions means writing step-by-step guidance and putting it in the activity itself. Talks about avoiding jargon. I am terrible about that. In fact, I have started going into taking my assignments and putting them in to ChatGPT and saying, please rewrite this so it's clearer, uses less words, and write it at an 8th. I'm using 8th grade reading level for everything. That's mine. And I know that I have juniors and seniors, but if I use 8th grade, I think they should all get it. And I don't mean to using words that are too hard. And I guarantee you I do. And that's why I'm trying to get better at redoing that. Provide examples or models where possible. I literally record myself giving somebody else's presentation from the year before on my major projects and have them grade me doing the presentation just so they have some idea of what the heck I'm looking for. Sometimes I don't have third chapter 3 is their first project and they have to grade me. From then on, I just provide a video of here's what a project looked like, and they're not all A's. I'll put, this is an example project. It was a C+. Why? The rubrics underneath. And I challenge them to rate it with the rubric to see why. And I already said this, to post rubrics in the assignment themselves. As far as content delivery, we're all very used to using text. If we can add visuals, graphics, multimedia, videos, interactive content to make and try to hit those different methods of learning, that's always better. And I would always recommend using YouTube or your Google Drive. If it's material that you question that you might get a copyright strike, do not put it on YouTube. You can put it on Google Drive, click share to National Trail, and it plays just like YouTube. So I have tons of movies uploaded. I've done that for Jonathan before, that I just make it out of Google Drive. I hit share with anybody at National Trail, and nobody else is going to see it other than our kids that log on and look at that player. So, and anytime we do that, I do upload audio, because audio plays fine on Moodle. I have honestly never had a problem with audio. Video, I had a huge problem with, and that's why I'm just doing it all on YouTube and Google Drive anymore, just because of the problems with some players, particularly iPhones don't play the same things that Android phones play, that don't play the same with a Windows laptop. It's just an issue with videos, and that's why I've stuck with those two things. Does anybody have any questions so far? And then I feel like I can go past it. Yeah. Okay. The video, though, if you're going out to play it in before your Google Drive, but what would you actually want to do inside an assignment or something like that? You ever find it? Like watch a video and then, well, I mean, if it's something that's not copyrighted, I just always use YouTube. But you can do the same thing with, you can embed a Google Drive video just like you can embed a YouTube video in a video. Yeah, and do the same. It plays the same as the video. It looks like you're watching on YouTube. It doesn't really know the difference. I mean, YouTube is better. And why is YouTube better? If I put the same video in Google Drive and YouTube, the YouTube video will be ready to watch 4 hours before the Google Drive is. It is put like, I don't know how Google does it. It's like, here's the ones we put up. I can put up an hour video that I recorded of my class. It'll be ready in 2 minutes. I could put up an hour video that I uploaded to Google Drive. It will be ready tomorrow, but it will not be ready today. I don't know how Google does their video resolution, but YouTube definitely has all priority, and Google Drive videos are the redheaded stepchild of videos as far as Google's concerned. They will resolve eventually. But if you think you're going to throw something on Google Drive, it'll be ready for my next class. You may be mistaken and may be surprised. Yeah, it takes a lot longer for Google Drive. So things so right creating so yeah. So I mean, literally when I upload stuff to YouTube, it's on my calendar within 2 minutes, watchable. By the time the next class comes in, I upload it while when the bell rings, I upload it, put it on my calendar, and before the next kids are in there, it's viewable on the calendar of my recording of the entire class. That is not true with the Google Drive. And then you put it in your Google Drive. And I'm here talking about that. I learn materials all the time. Education I'm allowed to, right? I mean, we are allowed, we're not allowed to profit from it. You're not allowed to share with other people. We definitely can use our kits. So if I take, and I will do the same thing, both with websites and with videos, because Jonathan knows that tomorrow that video of that website may not be there. And it is really frustrating when you find a really, really good one you love to use in your class and it's just gone. Which is one of the reasons I move a lot of my stuff to my own books. If you look, most of my stuff is not original content of mine in my on my reading and stuff. It's other websites that I've taken and put into my course so that I know the thing is there. And so there's all the dang ads, the chance of getting a virus and everything else. And screen readers work wonderfully on Moodle. They do not work on a website full of ads and stuff. It just does not work out. So I do that all the time. Yeah. And a nice thing, if you download somebody else's YouTube video, you can then go and edit it and take out the parts you didn't want and the ads, because I run into even YouTube videos have ads embedded in depending on the video. And you can take those and put them in your Google Drive and just use what you wanted to use. What do you use to edit? They use Kdenlive. It's on everybody's desk. Everybody's computer has Kdenlive on it. I use that to edit all. Sorry, I was thinking OBS, which is no, that's for recording, not for. And then the last thing it said to consider adding extra information somewhere in your class for support of your students. At the bottom of every single one of my chapters, again, way too small. That font is actually looks smaller than the activities font. Which you don't notice until you put it up and you look at it and you're like, that wasn't good. But at the bottom of every single chapter, it says chapter intervention activities. And these activities are extra ones my students can do. At the end, I've taken the chapter test. And Mr. Poole, I got a bad grade on. I'm not happy with it. If they do all the intervention activities, they earn the right to retake the test. So they have to do it during their time. They have to do it during intervention. But if I went and I bombed chapter 7, so it says IA 7A. I didn't stick with my intervention really. That's intervention activity for chapter 7, A, B, C, and D. So they have to do those 4 intervention activities. And when they do the last one and they have to pass them, then it gives them a pop-up and says, come and see Mr. Poole, you can retake the test. What? Those lessons. That one's a lesson, and that one's a lesson, that one's a lesson, and that one's I don't know what that one is. That's in that assignment. That's determining. Yeah. Yeah. So it all depends on the right? I mean, that's probably not the most number of lessons. I may have gone crazy on lessons on chapter 7 because I don't do lessons very often because they're too hard. For me, not for them. They're too hard for me. Anyway, so you can consider adding that extra information. And I did the same thing kind of for you guys in the online class that if you look at the online class, I added up top. And we're going to talk about them anyway. But up top, it says course supports. And I put it up top so it's easier to see. Let's switch all the clean question. But I made, as part of the example of the class, this Moodle support videos, which then has a video on each one of these items so that if you've never done a file before, if you've never done a folder before, if you've never done a page before, it goes through how to do it. And that's kind of the idea of having supports for our students is that, all of you may have done everything other than the Moodle book, which this is a Moodle book. I have gotten to use this almost completely for all my content so that I have one spot where everything in every chapter is. But that's just an example of providing supports for your kids, just like I tried to do it as an example for you guys as well. Turn off the right thing. So we'll wait. I just did that. Oh, and there's that. Damn. I did. Caption purposes, and then right there. Yeah, okay, there we go. So, I already had a picture of it. Didn't remember. So I did the same thing by making a Moodle book here. I'm still not sure what the new icons are. I'll be honest, because I was so used to what the old icons were. I don't have them all down yet. So that one obviously makes sense. It was like a book. And then a book allows you to just click on sections that you can go through. You can arrow through the book, and I'm adding contents as we go through this, there'll be more and more that I add there. And honestly, I'd like to make it something that I can open up other places as well. So right now, what I got here is where we're going to take a phone break. So I'm going to stop right here and pause the video so you guys can get a drink or a snack or take a bathroom break. There, did you go? Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the different resources just to say why I use any of them. By the way, the biggest thing I used to use is Pages, and I'd moved to books because I had so many pages in my class, it was too full. And I got to the point where I had a page of reading underneath everything, and I started using Pages instead of links in the activities because of how bad ads have gotten on web pages anymore. And not just ads, but how pages that I was like, that's perfect, have gone away over the years. So I started, 10 years ago, not having links, which is, everybody knows that's what a URL is. It's a link. And I do have some external links for interactive activities that I can't copy. Power supply calculator, I can't copy that on site. So there are things that I have to make links to that are engaging online activities for students. But if it's content, I am harvesting it and bringing it all over to Pages, or in my case, now books, because I can re-level the text and I can take out all the ads and I can make it completely screen readable.
So you just cut and paste it over.
I just cut and paste it over. And I cut and paste it with I have a look sign at the bottom, content from wherever. I don't steal their stuff, but I take it and there's usually a link to the original content, unless, like I'm doing right now, which is I'm having ChatGPT rewrite the whole thing, and once it's completely rewritten, they didn't write it, as far as I'm concerned. ChatGPT did. So I'm gonna kind of go to my class here and just show you one of the advantages, and when it comes to accessibility, of having the information in Moodle instead of having it on a website. So if for instance, my students were going, I might even have a link. I don't know if I have a link or not. This is my chapter book, which I have videos in and I have reading in, and see if I've got a good article in here that I've harvested from somebody else. Okay. This is one that you know what? I just had ChatGPT rewrite that one. That's a bad example. I know I have a link, but no, I'm like, okay. Here's where I stole from somebody else, and I didn't leave the link in there. But I took it from an article, and this is like I said, a bad example because I should have still had where it was from. But it's a good example of a poorly written one that is really, really full of jargon for my students. That if I went and had ChatGPT rewrite it, it would be way better. Or Diffid or Brisk, any of those things could rewrite this. But the fact of the matter is, if I've got it in here in Moodle, I don't know whether everyone has showed their students or not, and I hope I have my speakers on. But I show all like his redirect for Google Chrome from the beginning, so that as it do them, these three acronyms fully define the single-level cells, multi-level cells, and triple-level cells. Define the methodology. I have a different voice picked that I like better, and you can change the time. But if you go and put it in the Moodle, it 100% can read it. If you go and use it on the web page that it came from, with all the crap that's in the middle, it cannot. Which is why I move stuff over as well, to get both things. I get no ads, I get no pop-ups, and I get it content that my kids can read. And I can't show you a single page in my class because I don't have a single page left in my class because I converted them all to Moodle books just to put them all together. So all the pages that I used to have linked in my first chapter, I eventually took and started using books instead, so that all the things that I used to have links for are all in one place. And I also, along with the organization, if you go to activity 1.2, it's for chapter 2 in this book. So if they looked at that activity, it follows that the assignment is go to section 2 and read or watch the videos in section 2. So there's 2 parts of section 2 here, and then there's an activity related to that. So that's also part of the organizational part. So chapter 4 in chapter, I know it's kind of confusing. Section 4 in chapter 1 corresponds to 1.4. So if I went to chapter 1 and I went to the activity M.4, it would say, read chapter 4, I should call it section 4, and watch the associated videos. And if they click on that, it takes them right to section 4. So that's where they start. And that's part of what I've tried to reorganize things so that they totally match up organizationally for my kids. Yeah. Chapter 4 in the book. Yeah. And I have a different book for every chapter. So it's kind of so every single one of my chapter 1 has a chapter 1 book, chapter 2 is a chapter book. So I have all the books together in one section. The thing up top that you saw was just a link that takes it here. And that's because in my class, they're allowed to refer to the books during the final exam, and I can't have them in the chapters because they can't look at the chapter stuff during the front, or they'd look at all the little quizzes and stuff.
Why is that one allowed into the mark as done?
I don't know why I did something wrong there. I don't know what I set up on the settings that did that. But anyway, I don't have everything in one book. I have a different book for each section of the course, which kind of sounds confusing. But so 4.4 is the 4th activity in chapter 4 kind of thing. And that's just part of the way I tried to keep it organized so it makes sense both to me and to them when I say read section 4. I mean all of it, 4, 1, 4, 2, 4, whatever, if there's more than one section in the book. I'm going to go ahead and go back over here to our class somewhere. I have a class still up. That's not it. I have a video up in here on how to make a Moodle book that I made, but it's really easy. And I'm not saying you should use books, because if you don't have a lot of pages, then pages are fine. And there's also nothing wrong with having the information in the activity itself, right? I mean, you don't have to have it 2 places. It's just, in mine, for instance, here, I just have watched the associated videos because I couldn't put everything that's here in chapter 4. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, basically, sections that I can't add in one activity. But if all I had was one thing to do, you could just have it in the assignment too. You don't have to have a page and an assignment in a book kind of thing. But I had so much content. By the way, I have no book. My only book is online, which is why I have so many little books that I built over time. And mine was particularly frustrating because I do have a textbook, but I got it in 2003, and computers have changed just a little bit since 2003. And I found out that if I used the book, by the time it was 2005, the book was really worthless. And then I looked at the new book, they didn't have one that was current. And by the time one came out, the next version came out, it wasn't current either. So I'm like, I just have to update it myself. And I use ChatGPT now to do it. I mean, I just go and say, hey, update this chapter, give me new graphics or makes and mod. So
you don't have a problem with that ChatGPT giving you graphics? Well, actually, Diffit does better, right? And said ChatGPT because I'm just saying AI names, but Diffit gives you better graphics. So I usually use Diffit for releveling text, but it doesn't do as good a job at updating text. So if I take it and have ChatGPT update it and then paste it into Diffit and say level the verbiage and give me graphics, I don't know. I'm just trying to hear somebody else does it. I don't. I thought I was like, there's got to be a better way, but I can only do my test so it comes up. Yeah, there's not. There's not one thing that does it all because Diffit doesn't do a good job. But at least I've seen of it finding and updating all my time. Does a great job of releveling when I give it. Does a great job of finding graphics, but ChatGPT does a better job of, hey, I need this updated for 2025 parts of hardware, and reading does the whole thing with current stuff. Anyway, so making a book is simple, and I'm sure most of you go, I gotta switch back. Am I still myself? I don't know if I must still be myself. Okay. What? Yeah, well, because I can become everything. So there's a lot of different things that, as the administrator, it's gotten to see sometimes. So of the resources, my impression is, does anybody have a question on how to do a URL? Everybody, I mean, I want to go over things you guys know. Does anybody have a question on text and media areas?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have them. I'm not sure if I remember spelling it.
So okay. So if I wanted to put a label above this that says supports, I'm going to hit there and then go to resources and I'm going to hit the text and media area. It just is a little text box. It does ask you for a title. No one sees this title, but it shows up over here in the course index. So I can type anything. And then down here, I could type course resources. And like I said, the default, I'm spelling completely wrong. There we go. The default, which I always used to use, is not acceptable anymore. I'm going to go and I'm going to make sure that I've got it bigger. I think large will work. And I'm going to make sure it's Arial because I'm switching all my fonts after doing this Arial. And I'm going to just hit save. And then you can drag that up there. And your question of how many times can I indent?
That doesn't have to move left anymore. Right.
I don't see it. Do you? I don't even see that anymore. I guess so. I did not, I didn't even realize that it wasn't variant, which is a better reason for using labels because you can't even indent things that go underneath each other. You know what? I'm going to look back at, because I used to have all my stuff under a project indented under the project, and it isn't here. So it's not indented; it's all straight down the page. Which is, I almost think that I'm going to have to even go bigger than large because I don't think that stood out enough. I think that does. I think extra large stands out fine, but large does not. So I'm probably going to go and make all my stuff bold and extra large to make it stand out better. I used to also put lines under them, but I don't need to anymore because it automatically puts lines between the activities, which it did not used to do to separate the activities. Also, if I want to point this out, and this is true of any graphic that you throw in Moodle. If I'm going to do. I'm going to go grab an image off the web. If I go and take this big picture and put it into Moodle and then say, you know what, I only want it this big. So it shows up underneath my course resources. This is still that ginormous picture. Just because I made it, I squeezed it down, it's going to take the same amount of time to load that picture as it took to load this ginormous picture. And here at Trail on a 1 gig backbone, that's fine. But if you have a kid using a hotspot at home, the fact that you took this picture and squished it down to that little thing does not make it load any faster. And the reason I point that out is I could have just, when I was back here, before I clicked on it, I'm going to go reload this. I could have just copied this image instead and put it in here. If you want a thumbnail, grab the thumbnail, because now this image is only that big. And maybe I want to squeeze it down to that smaller one, but instead of squeezing that ginormous one, which was, I can't run 800. How much was it? 800. Is it 800 wide? Instead of squeezing that down to that little one, I could just as easily squeeze this one down to that smaller size that I want to use. And instead, delete this. I can't tell you how many pages I've gone to that people think that they put a little tiny picture there. And they don't understand why is it loading so slow. And they see this on a little tiny thumbnail. It's because it's not a little picture. It's this size that you copied and pasted. And you're actually making it worse by taking a huge one and squeezing it, because now your browser has to go and redo that picture. It would actually be faster to leave the original ginormous one. Okay.
Is there any difference between copy and pasting it like that and then uploading it? That's like it's very much. They're both.
They're still very good. The other thing is, and this is one of the things that I'm going to talk about. When you add pictures, don't click this image as decorative only. Type in what the picture is, because if I'm using a screen reader, when it reads this page, it will say image of, and then it will read that on a screen reader. If you ever use it with Read and Write for Google Chrome, reach right to it and says what that image is. And we do have students with vision image issues, and so we shouldn't just skip over pictures. Now, here on this one, does it matter? No one's going to read the label.
So in the previous version, if I did not click it, like this image is decorative only, I put that picture in as like a test question, like identify the moon phase, they could just scroll over the picture and tell us.
Oh, well, if you want to type the word moon, you might want to type the word moon phase or picture of moon phase, not what it actually is. That's
We named the test question too. Sometimes there was things that they,
Okay, so it's a good point of what you put in the description. Yeah. So maybe just having moon phase would be better than, and this is the
doing decorative.
I don't think I should know, because Beth has told me moon phases a million times, but I don't turn the verse in. Waxing difficult, master. Tell me, I was like,
Again, that's also not it. Same way that you could, tell me,
waxing,
waxing,
waiting, give it something. Give us. There's hours saying close. But then, anyways, my point is, don't click this. Moodle tries very hard to work, and if you go and do that, then you're undoing it. If you don't know, if you haven't used YouTube videos before, is everybody here embedded YouTubes in their class? If you put a link in, that's all you have to do, right? So if you find a YouTube on the moon phases, that supports your lesson that you're giving, you don't have to do anything more than to put the actual address up here into, am I on the thing? Okay. All you have to do is paste the address in, and when you hit save, Moodle automatically turns it into a playable video. The other advantage of that, which it is, there we go. The other advantage is, I don't think you can ever get ads when you do it this way.
think it always goes straight to the video. You saw there was an ad where I went to the website, but you don't get any of that when you embed one's head. That way, however, it doesn't break something.
But he's been much time observing to check because we on this side is facing it.
It's got and those normally would be ads. I think they would show up in here. So that's what's this one? So that's another on when it comes to adding other things for kids. They like watching YouTube videos. So finding YouTube videos that go over your content in a different way is a great idea too. I was going through the resources. I'm off top. So that's text immediate area. A page is a great way to, and like I said, I'll copy the whole thing. If I find a website I really like, and let's say this is really good and I really like it, but I want to use it over in my class and I don't want to have all the extra stuff. I can go to reader mode. Now I've got just the text. And I can just copy the text and I can throw it in the page that I just made. I'm going to put the title up here. It's still got who wrote it, the stuff. I'm going to go and make this way smaller because I don't need it that big. Oh, and I put it in there. I've been really bad at this. It doesn't go in the description. It goes in the content. This is new that it does. So I've got to go and put that down here in the content instead. Oh yeah, that's that. Because if I go and do that, and I do the opposite in the assignment, there we go. So now I've still got the information, but all of the other stuff is gone. That I had in there, it's still got these external links. And if I don't like those, because that's going to go somewhere else, probably. Well, didn't go. Oh yeah, it did. Here we go. And I'm sure you guys know if I take this same content and paste it into Notepad and then paste it here, all the links are gone, which is why I use Notepad in between when I'm doing that sometime. But the point is that now a screen reader can go through this whole thing really well. I can I can just go and hit it. And if I have limited reader students, lawyers of solicitors, translations that if you need to listen to the whole thing, I can as the screen reader works perfect. I just hit the rewrite vote. Don't remember the icon. It's an add-on that I added. So if I go to any website, this just goes and gives me the text. It takes away all the other stuff, so it's way easier for me to just. There's a couple different add-ons that you can get that do the same thing, so that you lose. I mean, this is not terrible at all, but I would lose all the ads and all the pictures and all the links and stuff that aren't related to the Audible if I did it. You can see I lost the stuff on the bottom. All this stuff went out. That wasn't in the article when I did it either. So. I always use one of those, some tool like that to kind of strip it down. Now anymore, I would take this and put it in ChatGPT or Diffit and have it rewrite it anyway. Because I could go and take this actual website and go to Diffit, which this is part of what we're going to go over today, by the way. If you haven't used Diffit, we pay from Diffit, Brisk. I can take this website if I wanted to. I need a key, and I can toss it right in where it says links, paste that in there, and generate resources. And it's going to go through and basically do the same thing to pull everything out. I didn't even look to see what reader level I said we were going to use. So it's going to go through that page and rewrite the content to the reader level that I had picked. I don't even know what I had said. I think I had said it 7th grade. But by the way, you can set what your default is, which I changed when I gave a class. So I've got it set to 7th grade. That might be a little low for my kids. Maybe I want to increase it and then regenerate the text. But
the great thing about this is it gives me graphics that I can use. Okay, there we go. So here's my reading that it gave me. Does not about training, please provide the text if you like me or remember. Does not include the information about translation services. I didn't actually read. Okay, so here's the reading that it gave me. Here's a list of vocabulary, multiple choice questions. It changed the way the thing is now, and I had
Told it what you wanted because I just saw you put it in so fast.
I just put in the link to the thing. So if I go,
Yeah, but how did it know to do all that stuff?
it always does that every time for different. As soon as you put it in, it does all right.
If it is for teachers.
Yes. Oh yeah, different for one man, just for teachers. So when I go and do one, different has changed. So you could just say the topic. I can do phases of the moon for whatever grade level, what grade level. Okay, it's set for 7th grade. I can do that and just say generate, and it's going to make a lesson. It's going to find images. It's going to make questions. It's going to make vocabulary. It's going to do all that stuff for me. Or I can put it in a YouTube video, or I can put a link to a website, or I can pick, or you can do. That's why we're paying. This one is well worth it. This is $1,000 a year for the whole district. That is nothing for everything that it does. And I don't want him to hear me say that because I don't want to raise the price. But I mean, any school that isn't paying for Diffit is ridiculous. So it gives me images. I can change the images. It gives me a whole bunch of different options on images. I can pick more. So if I like this phases of the moon one better, I can go ahead and pick that one. Then it gives me the reading down here. I don't know why is it saying the reading and reading? I haven't seen that. There's vocabulary, and if I don't have enough, I can add more. It's like, oh, there's not enough words. I'm going to add so many more, or you can put in your own words that'll add to vocabulary. Gives me multiple choice questions. I can tell it I want more multiple choice questions. So I can say I want more strategic thinking questions, and I want 3 more of those, and it will generate more questions on my thing for me. You do max out 20 functions. Do you? Yeah. Okay. And the reading one on there, possibly the reason why there's 2 chunks of it is because when I was using it before, there's a limit on how many characters you can actually digest. I've seen it, mine is way bigger than that.
Maybe can you have 7th grade?
But he didn't actually ask it to break it down. So,
Yeah, maybe.
and first, it's not like the artist joking. It's the moon.
Well, this one I just said phases of the moon.
Oh, well,
So
I'm on a planetary society one. There's not that much.
So that's different. Maybe you can use to generate those resources and stuff for web as well. But my point is, putting it into a page or a book allows the screen reader to work and allows you to control what the reading level is for your kids. So that's the page, and that's why I use the page. The folder is just that. It just allows you to dump stuff in a folder. I use a folder to have all my old textbooks in. If I was teaching Computer 1, which I used to teach years ago, that's where I would put all the materials for the exercises and stuff. And if you've got you can have one link per chapter. I wouldn't do more than that. Or I wouldn't put more than that in one thing of materials that possibly whatever you say. So
I didn't know if it was a personal spot for you to store your things for.
no, it's not. It's. I mean, I can hide it, but like I've got in my class, down at the bottom of the course book section, there's a folder that has the original course textbook, and any of the students that want to look at it can click on that, and there's all the chapters on the original textbook.
Yeah, why is it there? I don't know.
That'd be a good place to store, like, if you have versions of your final material exam, you can hide it.
Well, you just hide the folder. Yeah, yeah. You wanted to.
It actually used to bring a whole section called and fold, and I just throw crap in there.
So, like, stuff in like just started in rows and. But yeah, okay, yeah, it's kind of
Just about as stated.
You don't
You know.
get rid of it, even though you're on.
Yeah,
Okay.
but you could toss it in a Google folder.
I like
I live on here and everything right now. No, they're not in this year. Oh, you're rid of
The file is just that. It's a file that you want to click on. I would not ever go through the process of doing all this to add a file, because if you're in edit mode, like I am right now, you can always take any file that you have and just drag it on the middle, and it does everything that you would go through in a long period of time. So if I want to, if I want to put my hippy dippy, which I just saw a second ago, from 2020 onto here, I just drag it on there and let go. And then it always puts it at the bottom of whatever section you're on, but then you can obviously move it up to wherever you want it. You can change the name of it. You can change the way it opens up, but it's easier to get it there. I can always go to the settings and change all those things, but it's just,
and file and order something different.
that's what a file is. That is a file. You can put any file you want people to click on in middle. The easiest way to do it is just tap editing on and drag it on your middle course. It just goes there. So I'm going to delete this out. I'm going to do that. Yeah, I just realized it's my MPW time. I'm like, that I don't have an MPW. I just did one. No, it's okay at 2010. It is my MPW. So that's a file. And then the only really other one is the book that I use, like I said, all the time.
Oh.
If you do a little book, when you open a book, you just name what the book is. So I could say chapter 3 material, or chapter 3, whatever the title is, mood phases. And you have to have a start. So I normally do something like have a picture in there. I know I never see copy image. Copy image there. Can I get it? Right there. Just to start out with, I'll do that one sweet. All right, we'll rethink of that one in a minute. And then I just hit save, because then I got it started. And then I start adding chapters. So chapter 1 is on the phases or whatever. And then you add the content down here, and then you'll see it show up over there. I'm going to just add something so you see what I'm talking about. So, and I might be cutting and pasting this. So there, once I've got one thing in there, it shows up there. And now I just add more pages. And as I add a page that's underneath the first one, I can say whether it's a subchapter of that one or not. So if I add it and say it's a subchapter, then this becomes 1.1 underneath it. And then when I add the next one, is it also a subchapter, or am I starting a new chapter? And then if I say it's not a subchapter, then this becomes chapter 2, and you can move them anytime you want to. Just rearrange them and stuff. And
no such thing as a subchapter.
what?
Can't do a subchapter. You can't do a sub.
No, you can't do a subchapter of a subchapter. No, you get one subchapter of the one. It's basically exactly like a page. There's no difference between this and a page, except for now you get a table of contents and you get a way to organize them. Which is why when I first saw the book and I started using it, I'm like, oh, it cleaned up my course immensely and allowed me to put my content in. And books make sense to kids, right? You say, go to the chapter 3 book.
I got
Chapter 3.
are similar sense. It's not a lot of kids free books.
Well, I mean, and I understand what you're saying. However, mine's a book of videos. Yeah.
No,
I mean,
it makes it well. I didn't love it,
yeah, I mean, they sounds like a lot.
but it's nice to have the organization.
Yeah, it made it so I cleaned up my class, because especially if you start moving all your stuff into your course, like I started doing years ago, then you have to have some more organized way of doing it. So, okay, getting back to where we are. So those are the different, does anybody have any questions on the different resources? Yeah.
Is there a way, like if I have something in a book, because I have a few, but I always wanted to put questions for them to answer. Is it just a matter of making a quiz and linking it into one of the chapters? Is that
So
way to do?
no, but the other way was horrible. There is a Moodle activity. I haven't tried it in this version that allows you to do embedded questions in the book. Then I turned it off because it was horrible. But it was horrible in the last version. It doesn't mean it's horrible in this version. I definitely can look and you can be a guinea pig and you can try it.
I tried to use it in the last version and it was obnoxious.
It was fun.
Question.
Well, I mean, what I have in my class, and I know I've already showed this to you, but in my class, all of mine are quizzes linked to the book. So if you're in chapter 4 and you're doing activity number 4.3, this is a quiz. The quiz assignment is attend the lesson on system memory and read chapter or section 3 of the chapter 4 book. Be sure to read all portions before taking the quiz. So I do a lesson and then they go here and that's the lesson in case they missed it. And then there's images and reading for this section on memory speed, which again, I need to rewrite. And then they take the quiz. So that's what I'm doing. I'm saying, go read this and then take this quiz.
I was thinking more of like self-check questions within the book.
Yeah. And that's what the book activity was. I'm making because it's worth exploring again. But I felt like it was really, really clunky.
It was.
Last time. And it kind of didn't work the way I thought it would. And so I was like, it was confusing enough to me that I was like, I'm turning that off. Which maybe isn't fair because maybe somebody else lived in kind of is. Any other question on the little resources?
So you don't have level 1 book, right? But you have multiple versions of the same book at different levels.
So, that is what we're talking about. Thank you for the
Trade to the segue.
yeah. So,
Get part of his pay.
So, that's one of my problems right now is what I have done with my resources is that's why some of the chapters have 4 sections. Section number 1 is at 3rd grade reading level. Section number 2 is at 8th grade reading level. Section number 3 is at higher collegiate reading level. And I tell my kids, read until it doesn't make sense to you anymore on that section. And without saying, you can't read, so you just read section 1. But I know that, and this is an example, but I know that the kids who read at the 3rd grade reading level, in the 10 minutes that I'm giving them, are only going to read this. The kids who are gifted are going to get through this and this and this because they're like, hey, that took me 15 seconds to read. Well, we're not all the same. So I initially used ChatGPT to rewrite the stuff I had at a lower grade level, and I added a subchapter ahead of it. So the reading built up. However, I want to do what Dan just suggested and have 2 different books. And so that was kind of the next thing that I wanted to show was how can I make different things, and there's a video on this, but I'm going to go through it. Different things viewable by different kids as far as the content goes. It's easy when it's a page. So if I wanted to have, where's my little practicer? There we go. If I wanted to have a page on understanding the faces of the faces. I always spell that wrong. Understanding the moving faces. There we go. And of course I closed it, so maybe it's on another page. I'll just go and start it all.
Actually, if it lets me go and look at the old stuff, so I'll be able to do that anyway. So I'm going to go to my Moon Phases Explained that I got. And I'm going to go, and this still seems, well, I'm going to just go ahead and use this for my example of what I was talking about. So if I've got this text that I've got for my kids, and I'm going to assume this is it. I'll put the wrong one again. Down here. I've got this text that I want to use for a majority of my students. So I'm going to hit save and return to course. And most of my students are going to get this, but I need to have something for my kids who are in the 3rd grade reading. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and hit that, and I'm going to say duplicate. And this one, I'm going to go and change what it is to a 3rd grade reading level. So I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to pull it down, and I'm going to say 3rd grade. I'm going to say regenerate.
I would love to have a way of being able to do it where I don't have to actually come up with symbol goofy trick to make myself remember which one's which.
The first one is I'd say we're starting up here and we're going down here. So the lowest one is always the lowest one, and the highest one is always the highest one in my class. That's how I do it. So I know. So I got this now that's supposed to be the 3rd grade reading level. And so I'm going to go to this one, and I'm going to paste this in instead. I'm going to take this and take it out, and I'm going to put this. Wow, that looked terrible. What did I do? Somehow I didn't copy something right. See if I can try that again. There we go. Okay, so I've got this one called the Many Faces of the Moon that still looks like the other. So both of them see the same link. And now I'm going to make it so my non-IEP students see that one, and my IEP students see that one, and none of them know the difference. So the way you do that, if you ever done it before, is with restrictions. And I've got a video on this, but I'm going to show you. You hit Edit Settings. And then down here under Restrict Access, I'm going to add a restriction and say that this is a group restriction. I'm going to say students to see this must not be in the IEP group. And I'm going to poke it in the eye. If you don't poke it in the eye, they will see it, but see that why they can't see it. So that should be the default, by the way. So I'm going to say I got to poke it in the eye. So they must not be IEP students in order to see that. And on this one down here, I'm going to do the exact opposite. I'm going to go down to Restrict Access, and I'm going to add a restriction. I'm going to add the group. I'm going to add IEP. Then I'm going to say now must be IEP. Right? Again, I'm going to hit it in the eye. I'm going to save and return to course. So now I've got two different things. I'm going to unhide this area. Oh, because I did that, because it was hidden. When I did it, it's hidden there. But unhide anything. So this understanding mood phases, you can see this, they cannot. This reading is for the non-IEP students. This reading is for the IEP students. So we can go and build, and this is part of universal design for learning and setting it up ahead of time for all of our students. We can go and build 3 different activities if we want to. One for our gifted kids, one for our mainstream kids, one for our 504 kids, and one for our IEP kids if we wanted to. We can have that many different activities, that many different worksheets that the kids do in Moodle. Yes, for us, it makes it look horrible. That's the only bad side. And that's why I have that one called Clean Course View. I switched to Clean Course View, and it cleans up all the different things in the course. And can you guys see that? Can you guys switch to Clean Course View? I don't know if I made that available to everybody. So I really should. If you switch to Clean Course View, should be what everybody gets. I can't do everything in it. I'm not a full teacher now, but
it allows me to see everything kind of the way the students see it, but I can't edit everything. But when I'm doing screenshots and stuff, I really want to be in there. That's all you guys.
Or supposed to.
When you go under your face and you go to switch roll to, I don't know what roles everybody can see, but that's one that I can make it. So
Yes, there.
okay, it just takes away that stuff so that when I'm showing it up on the board, they don't see the restrictions.
Plus. Right. I'd see it plus. Let me draw between the two. Okay.
Oh yeah, this is our kind of choice too. Definition.
I don't know. That's me that stuff in the middle. That's new. I didn't know that. So you don't have to. So you. And how much crap I've had to move. Finally, says I think that's there. So you don't have to add stuff at the bottom and move it up. You can close it up. And like, see, it's only 5 people at National Trail know that.
Said it was so what?
I don't know. Start using people just because of that. Yeah. So let me shut up. If only I had known that before. Where's my? Okay, I gotta close stuff.
There. On each of them.
I
didn't still scroll.
Yeah, I gotta put it right in the right place to see it. So,
Yeah, and you can't just hover off to the side. You gotta get close to that middle for the.
so we had Brisk and Diffit. I'm not gonna go. We're. Oh, I guess I thought it was 537 there for a second. I guess 517. Brisk is like Diffit, but it's so that you can go to a website and do the same stuff. So if I was to go to a website on the phases of the moon, like we're going to go to the NASA website on the moon phases, and I love this site, but it's way too much for my kids. There's the Brisk icon. I couldn't see him. So if you install Brisk and use the Brisk icon, I can do the same things that Diffit does through Brisk. For instance, I don't know what the reading level is on this one. Why is it not letting me spec the rating on this? Oh, okay, gotcha. So no, because I can't do it there. So I can hit change the level. It's going to tell me what level it is. It says it's 8th grade. I'm fine. I can give it to my kids in 8th grade. But if I'm a 7th grade teacher, that's just 1 grade level too high, or a 5th grade teacher, I'm going to go over this. If I go and pick that, and I change reading level, it automatically opens up a Google Doc, which makes it much easier for me to copy and paste into Moodle. It opens up a Google Doc and it rewrites it, bringing as many images as it can over, but I am going to tell you, it doesn't do all of them. And it rewrites the whole thing based on the new, and it's, look how bad it's formatting that part. And then I'm not going to give it an A+, because that is not, that's part of it. Is that what it is?
The sites you go to.
Better.
Yeah.
Content often the time.
Oh, is that where it is? The content's over here, and it's trying it. That is a perfect example of some websites, because of the way they embed stuff like this, make it really, really hard. Huh?
Oh, wow.
When it's done generating, you can tweak it and tell it whether you like this is way too much information on it.
I was just saying, even if it's all that red, right? Channel,
It's way too much.
there is so
So it says right here, if you would like to change, could you please pare this down and make it shorter, more succinct, and easier read or learn in 5th grade students. I probably could say what better. It's actually this large. Okay, so it's going to go, well, okay, I'll redo that. Let me do it all over again. And so it's going to rewrite it, and it's already cut it way down for what it did. It's rewriting it way better than it was before. You just have to, so I just cut it down from, I don't know how many pages that to something they might actually read, right? I could also, what I've done, so you need to be polite today. He said, you don't have to. I was like, I'm just direct. No, you don't have to.
What and that being polite gets you better answers on.
Yeah, it's one of the.
Yeah, that is right.
And I'm saying please, and they can actually do things.
I call chat to be to Molly.
But you call what?
It's like, hey, Molly.
So other things you can do, this is the boost activities. If you want to do a character chat on your site, you can hook it up to do a character chat. By the way, if you do a character chat and you put the link in, you can see every single thing every student says to that character and everything they say back. So, have Neil Armstrong, okay, all right, Chad DeGrasse Tyson prop with Ryan's students.
So I didn't say
Well, that's not policy. Then that for me is not policy.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and say I wanted to have a character chat to students and see other options. Okay, we're gonna do students get view only access to this document. Why did it make it chat? I don't know what just happened to me. I thought it was event. Did I have to say that in order to? Out of that. Okay, there we go. So here's so it's putting the article in a new thing that we're going to share with our students. And it's going to put the character chat over on the side. And if they start to chat with the student in here, here's the Neil Armstrong. Hi, I'm Neil Armstrong. It's an incredible honor of being the first person to walk on the moon back in 1969. So that they can start to chat with them. And as they talk with them, I can click this view progress button up here. I will see every student that talks to them and what their chat is. And it's set for learning objectives that it's trying to see if they get through there. So explain that the moon reflects sunlight. Second one is explain the at least 4 phases. Explain why the moon appears as a different shape. So it's trying to get them to understand that through its conversation.
Formative assessment.
Yeah. So there's some cool things you can do with AI. I'm kind of off the topic. Yeah, the one I just did. Yeah. So, because it embeds that article. So they've got the article to read here. And on the side of it, they're chatting.
How does the chat pop from this thing to that? So, like if I can link this to them.
Yeah, you just go ahead and do this.
Oh, that one. Okay.
But you go link right up top. You can do the QR code or just say, go to this and you give. And if you do more than this, all they're doing is really entering this code that they got. You can have this chats or inverseteaching.com/show. And then you give up today. This is the one. And if they go to that, then they'll get the document and they'll get the chat showing up there.
See, I've tried to use that to actually do instant word guided notes. And I haven't been able to find a way to actually refine what it is that I get. Or is the output file?
I saw your showing Briss. I would be honest, I have used Briss to come up with quiz questions and stuff, but I haven't used it to the extent. We also are paying for this one right now to see which one teachers like to use. Because they very much did different things. The more you go to other sites, the more Briss is yours, the more you want to make your own content on your own site, the more different is freaking. So it depends on the teacher and the subject matter, which one works out better for them. So my point is that we can use any of these. You can use different, use Briss, you can use ChatGPT, you can use Claude, you can use any of the AIs pretty much to level your text. I would highly recommend going there with Briss at least to see what it thinks the reading level is. Because I think sometimes we don't realize that we've posted content that may be past our kids' understanding. Because we're not fifth graders. So we think we know I would be really bad at that, assessing what, and maybe an IEP teacher is trained to do that is better at that than content area teachers. I don't know, but you can use AI to help you level your text and do that. And then the last thing was using multiple ways, text, audio, visuals, to get to our students and use UDL. The more options we give them on our course along the way, the more our course is already set up to differentiate for students. 5 years ago, I had no vocabulary in my class. 5 years ago, I did not have different quizzes for different levels of kids. And quite honestly, 5 years ago, I didn't have a single IEP kid in my class. And then I had the counselor say, "Hey, I'd really like to put this kid in your class. He really wants you to take your class, but he's not on IEP. Is that okay?" And I'm like, what? Why wouldn't that be okay? If I want other teachers to differentiate for my own son, why would you think I wouldn't differentiate for somebody else's? And I did not even realize that somewhere along the line, scheduling had decided I didn't take IEP kids. It was never me who said that.
Somebody made that choice, didn't they?
Somebody made that choice and didn't tell me. And they thought, oh, I thought you just want gifted kids. So we're like, well, I mean, because honestly, like last year, over half my kids were on IEPs. And some of the kids were the best kids in the class because they don't learn in the traditional classroom. And mine has tons of hands-on on it. And so limiting those kids from taking the class kind of made me sad when I found that out. But I have had to add way more stuff in my Moodle class to differentiate automatically for those kids because of it. And that's part of what UDL is, trying to get that stuff out and make things more flexible for them. They have all kinds of things they can do in my class to decide how they want to do projects. It doesn't have to be a PowerPoint presentation. There are other things that kids can do. And I open it up to them that if I don't have an option that you think of, you need to tell me that option because I will most likely approve it. Obviously our goal is to make sure every student can access the information that we have and can participate in the class. Don't override that text for old images. I've already said most of this. Copy web pages into Moodle so that it's easier to read. Screen readers work. We don't have all the distractions of all the advertisements, but you saw that one was a really bad one. However, AI ended up rewriting it just as good without all the links and stuff. Consider or make sure you've got transcripts for media. YouTube and Google Drive both do that automatically. We don't have to make up any transcript stuff for any of those kind of things. So where are we going from here? You're going to decide on your personal course layout. You're going to set up a standardized section, and that's your first submission is here's what I'm going to do. Here's my plan for my class. Because it's 10.5 hours, I can't say, okay, now do it your whole course, but one section. And the intent there is that you then carry it on with the rest of your class as time permits as you get in the class. There's an assignment to differentiate one thing with AI. It doesn't matter if you differentiate it up or down. Just that you're using AI to either make it a gifted. If you've got a class, you've got tons of kids, and I need to put more gifted things in my class, then they move it up. But if you like, I've got nothing for my third grade readers, move it down. That's up to you. Ensure that screen readers work on the material in that section, because we're talking about just one section of your course as we look at this. And then look at how you can improve your own learning paths to the class. So there's 4 activities. The first one is, and that's it. This whole assignment. Activity 1 is to create your own layout. You decide on what it is, submit a screenshot of what you're going to do. Number 2 is to organize a section of your class with that layout that you just designed. Those are the major of the things. That these are small activities. Use AI to level the material on one activity just to play with it. And there's videos on how to do that in the video section. And then the last one is just in this section that you're working on, verify that your images all include altered text. If you don't have any images, you have to add at least one, because I can't grade nothing. But that just, you're going to show me that you understand how alt text works, and you're going to be like to one thing that an image that has alt text. So this is, I've already got it. I'm going to send you a link, or I need to put one in. This is, have you ever used it to level material? It's your chance to use it to do that. And then this is implementing this. And that's the the activity. All of them have the same due date. This was the day before the next class.
Okay, so like, are we creating like the course section layout? Are we adding that to our current?
I think I found it easier to just do it in my class and just make a new section and design a layout right there. Because it allows you to play with it, move things around. Let's see what the policy stuff looks like on our, and then if it says, give me a link and a screenshot. Yeah, so it sort of says a link and a screenshot to this.
You want it could be a live one that we actually probably using.
Yeah. Well, this is your design and this is your implemented design. So it's two different sections. So when I decide what my design is, submit that. And then when I've implemented the design, you submit that as a separate. Does that make sense? So those are the only 4 activities. And from what I said, let me know if I shot too high or not. I mean, if that ends up being something that takes longer than I think. I mean, I realistically think this could take an hour or 2. This could take a couple hours. That's an hour and that's an hour. And most, if not, well, 5 minutes of fine if it's plus, but sorry. So yes. Yeah, I didn't know that was there. And I was like, yeah, things you have to hover over to see. Right?
At least it's not hovering in white.
Yeah, well, that was worse.
You hover over it isn't there. It's like, what?
So that's it. So you're going to just hopefully design this to your focus on your class, focus on clarity, accessibility, consistency, and then prepare your online stuff. Does anybody have any questions on what you're doing? And do you guys feel like you got something out of today? Right? Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah. That's like, seriously. How
Plus,
yeah. But that is something.
ask specifically what.